Aloha, hey, it's Julie Zimos, 365 Hawaii, and Lance Owens from Luva Real Estate, Kona Home Team. And we are working on giving you guys the lowdown on the numbers from June 2021 and also some predictions as we head into fall of this year. So when Lance gives you guys the numbers, we're also going to be cracking open our favorite beverage.
You guys have seen us put in plugs for Ola and asked for a sponsorship, and we actually got it.
That's right. And so now we're telling you guys about their hard tea, Tulsi Berry. And they also opened up a new store in Hilo.
Yeah.
So there we go. So the sound of cracking is open. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
it's a beautiful sound. So
if you guys are want to know what's happening with the housing market, it's about as hot as I can get. That's why we need some cool beverages. So
cool us down some. All right, so we're going to jump right in. So this is June 2021, but you're going to see me kind of jump around back to, because June 20 was a little bit off. We all know why. I don't have to tell you why on that.
No, tell them why.
Because we had a pandemic.
So, and our real estate market kind of went.
In case you were in a rock somewhere. Well, Hawaii shut off the world. They just shut down our island and nobody could come or go. So it was, we still had sales and it actually wasn't that bad. I'm going to give you both numbers, but you're going to see me jumping back to 19 when it was normal. So, so we're going to jump back and forth. So let's jump into the number of sales for residential homes. So residential homes from this year over last year for the month to month is up 15.9%. So call it 16% up on the number of homes sold. So that we're at 51 there and 44 last year. So it wasn't, I mean, that wasn't a terrible month. 44 is not bad at all. If you go back to 2019, we were at 56. So, so we're really, you know, our numbers are down a little bit off of 2019, not because of lack of want, it's because of lack of inventory. So that's our big thing. So up 15% over last year on that. The big one is vacant land.
Yeah.
So vacant land went up 700%, you guys. So that's kind of
Take a drink for that one. Oh,
good luck on finding a
piece of
a
open
contractor.
land.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So
yeah, the contractors,
we got
man.
that.
Well, if you're looking for a job and you're a contractor.
And you know what? I'm going to jump over because I should have went over on residential. And residential, you guys, I want you to know it's up year to date because January, February, and March, when we still had some inventory, we had some phenomenal months. So we're up 57% year to date. So that's pretty impressive. Land is up 180% year to date. And we're going to jump down to condos, which is jumped up from 38 this year, and I'm sorry, 64 this year and 26 last year. So we got 146% jump.
That's a lot.
And if you look at 26 last year, you know what it was in 2019? It was 28. So really, we were still doing strong. And if you guys remember, if you've been following the show, we've talked about how condos were going to take off. As we watched the homes go up, we kept kind of watching condos just sat flat for the last year and a half, 2 years. And they're doing really, really strong now. So 64 compared to 26 and then 28. And actually, I'm sorry, 24 the year prior to that, 28.
That's a lot.
So
yeah.
it's a big jump. Year to date, condos are up 143%. So almost the same numbers month over month as year to date. So that's looking.
That's a hot market.
Yeah. So we're going to jump over to our next favorite part, median price.
Yeah, the price. Whee!
So I'm going to jump into the median price here. Median price, residential. Actually, it dropped down some. It dropped down to $880 was a median price for month over month.
That's for a single family home.
Single family home, yeah. Now remember how much it went down in the what do you call it? The number of units sold. So again, I'm going to attribute that to lack of inventory because year to date, the median price for homes is $926,000. It's the median price for homes. So crazy. If we jump back to last year, median price was $722. Our median price never changed or fluctuated with or without the pandemic. Number of sales changed. There was no fire sales in homes though.
Right,
so,
right.
But let's go jump back to 2019, and it was at $691,000 was the median price. So,
which nowadays that seems relatively affordable.
That's an affordable home right now.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah. So if we jump over to land prices haven't skyrocketed too much. We're looking at median price on land went from last year at $310 and to $475 this year. So It's kind of hard to break down because
so many different kinds of parcels.
Yeah, there's
too,
so
right?
many different parcels. So, but at least it gives us a number.
Mm-hmm.
If I jump back to 2019, it was at 320.
Okay. So I mean, that's kind of what you can pay for an acre of land in Kona. 320 for an acre, you think?
Yeah. Yeah, you can pick up that. Even a couple of acres sometimes, It just
Yeah.
depends on the view. It's all about the view,
Yeah, the
and,
view.
and where it's at.
Yeah. And if it's graded and everything else.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. Yeah, because you got to remember grading. There's a lot of money in grading, and if you've got some of these lots have septic tanks put in them, that's another $18,000 for the septic system. So that can change it. So it's kind of hard to gauge on land, but at least we're using numbers. Previous years was 320, so it was 320, then 310, in 20, and then last year or this year it's 475. So it gives us a gauge that it has gone up.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the condos.
Condos, 357 last year at this time, and this year it's 404 is a median price for condos.
Okay.
So you want to talk about something interesting? This goes for the people that have been following us for years. We always jump to Li'ilani. There's several hundred units in there, and it's a good gauge. There are always some for sale. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a complex was built in '90, I think, and it's just a good
units.
gauge to gauge the market. 2 bedrooms in there have been 300 to 315 for years, and again, so that would be our gauge. One just came on the market yesterday, for $450.
Oh boy.
2 bedroom.
Oh boy.
Done nice. It was fixed up, but 2 bedroom for $450.
Wow. I think you got down to like 2 something one time. Because remember you were talking about it being like in the upper 2s.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I said 300 to 3.25 is what our average has been, but
Yeah.
some of them came in the high 2s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those I shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah.
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 Because then
You only
obviously now people are also raising their rents in there too, right?
Well, rents. We're still under the moratorium, so you can't raise rent here right now. But the rents will be raised up extremely.
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
So, and even if the person leaves, they can't raise the rent because we're in a state of emergency. So it's similar to like when Hurricane Aniki hit us in the 90s. So it's pretty, they're stuck on their rents. So all that ends August 6th, I think.
Which is not that far from here. It's only 3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that.
Yeah,
too,
we're going to talk
later.
about that too.
We're gonna have a little
that
talk.
kind of goes into what's going to happen in the fall.
Yeah.
So all those numbers were for North Kona.
Yes,
So just
yeah.
so people who are also thinking, because nowadays people are saying, well, if I can't live in Kona, maybe Waikoloa Village, Waikoloa might be a better shot. Can you just run through a couple of those numbers in South Kohala real quick too?
South Kohala residential 832 is a median price there.
Okay, nothing better. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
I'm sorry, that kind of surprised me a little bit too. But I have known because we've just helped a client buy out there, and that's the prices skyrocketed out there from it still shows 750, so it's kind of jumping in with some of the resort homes.
Yeah,
So it's
sometimes
little bit
a lot of
higher.
those homes are selling for millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So
that's a little bit
yeah.
different.
So
gauge.
in your estimation, what do you really think you can get a house for in Waikoloa Village?
Waikoloa, they're easily 750 to 850 right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So same thing up there.
Yeah.
So
there's no really homes for sale at this point in
Right.
West Hawaii.
and we talk about the ripple effect all the time. And again, I was a realtor here back since I started late 2003. So I witnessed 4 and 5 and that, and I watched it happen. Then, it was like throwing a meteorite in a lake, and the ripple effect goes out and goes out across the island. And that ripple, it starts with, the homes or the big splash in Kona, then it pushes out to Waikoloa and Captain Cook areas. Their home prices go up, and people don't want to go out farther than that. So then we see the switch to condos, and the condo prices start raising. So that's what just happened now. And so what happens at that point is then land prices start soaring.
Because people think it's easier to build than it is to buy.
Yeah, because what you could build for $1 million right now, what you could have bought for $1 million a year and a half ago was phenomenal. And what you could build right now for that is quite a bit better. So anyways, you're better. But that time's kind of gone too.
Yeah,
right
because
now.
now everything's expensive and you can't get anything
700%
built. So
increase, and the increase in lumber and stuff. So that's a wild card that we weren't expecting. The high increase in the lack of appliances and everything,
And
for these
labor.
people, and labor and everything. So
Yeah.
so that jumped up. That takes care of that.
Yeah.
But their condos, even their condominium is off the charts, and that's not a fair number. I'll give it to you guys, and you guys, this entire report with actually it's much more in depth. I just go old school. I just like my old black and white numbers and old school, but we have some graphs and charts and everything. It's on the Facebook page, and
Yep.
the Facebook page is.
If you want to be part of our real estate referral group, the page is 365's I'm moving to the Big Island and buying a home group.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a private page, and
Right,
we've got
and
all
if,
this.
yep, and so if you want the actual numbers, we can send them to you directly. You can join our 365 Ohana, and you can learn more about that at move to Hawaii365.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
So okay.
A little mid video plug here.
So I think with that, I think that wraps up these numbers, right?
Yeah, it's expensive. Okay, so
Let me throw in some really quick.
yeah, those are the $1 million
stats,
homes. Let's
excuse
hear
me.
it.
Some of the stats in North Kona. Again, we can't do the whole island. There's too many different variances. Median price, I think, over in Puna, like right now, so that throws off our numbers. Let's just throw that number out there. Median price in Puna is $398 right now, or $307 for a home in Puna, and $398 for Hilo. So we got to kind of pick an area of the Big Island and zero in on that. And real quick, I just we had a little spot on the news the other day and talked about how just North and South Kona is bigger than any of the other islands. So our district is actually bigger than when you look at the numbers of different islands and what their numbers are. So so jump out of that. So just in North Kona, there was 139 sales of land, condo, and homes total. Of those 139, 81 of them were cash.
Pooh.
Yeah, so that's a lot. So the good number is what we got, 40 and 20, 68 were still financed. So even though cash is king, we still had a good portion of them, a little bit less than half, but they were still financing and still doing it. Of those 139 sales, 30 of them sold in 0 days or less.
Oh boy.
Less.
Less.
30 days.
The moment they go on, boom, gone.
Yeah, gone. A total of 62 of them sold in under 5 days. So almost half of them sold in under 5 days. So if you are looking for property in Hawaii, you need to be pre-approved. Nobody's writing an offer that says subject to my home being sold or subject to anything anymore. It's got to be a super clean offer, and it's got to be strong, and it's got to be.
And if you want to hear
prepared.
some tips on setting up a really strong offer and ways to compete in this market, I just wrote a blog post about how to compete in this market on my move to Hawaii365.com blog, so you can get some really cool tips. And some of them are born out of listening to 4 or 5 of my real estate partners and the clever ideas that they've come up with to create not just how can you compete with the cash offer, but other things that you can add to the offer, like the rent back experience, or being able to leave everything in the house, just pick up your stuff and go. We'll even clean the house for you.
Yeah.
Any of that stuff, appraisal gaps, the whole thing. So learn a little bit about that, and also. And again, a little mid video plug. Working with a professional, I write about that in my blog. But working with professionals like Lance, where they understand how to use those little hooks to create a better offer. Now's not the time to be working with agents that have not dealt with someone in this kind of market before, right?
A big thing is again, and I'm not putting a plug for myself, but make sure you have an agent, not an agent that's done 200 deals. You need an agent that's done 200 deals in Kona, Hawaii.
Yeah.
Or the other areas. Julie's picked out agents that have been very experienced in Waikoloa and the Hilo and Puna areas and things like that. It's so important because you need to know the nuances. It's not the time
to be dealing with new agents, especially with lava zones and understanding, like the contingency aspects of life about trying to get houses fixed. If you think you're going to get a fixer, really, I mean, some of that, what you think, but getting a fixer in Hawaii is not the same as getting a fixer like in California, where you think you're going to come in and you're going to turn and burn it. It's a completely different experience here.
Well, yeah, and a lot of, I've dealt with newer agents that are experienced, older agents that have moved here and wasn't familiar with single wall homes. Didn't know that they still make single wall homes, and that you can things, and they thought that everybody had cable here. There's $1 million, $2 million home neighborhoods that don't have cable. So that's you think you're gonna move here and do something, work from home, and you find out that the home that subdivision doesn't even have cable, and you're doing it from your phone, that's your hookup to your computer and the internet. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's important, no matter who you get. A local lender, somebody that's standing here touching the thing that you're going to buy, and they know it. Even if it's a lender that does it in other states, you want a lender that knows here because of tsunami zones and
flood zones and condo tells and the different with that CPR thing.
CPR lots and things like that. So all that's important. Just because I got 20 years experience, you want somebody that has 20 years experience here.
Right. Yeah.
So make sure that's important.
Yeah.
So
When you're driving around as a tourist, you're not seeing that there's blue rock and lava tubes and historical sites and all. I mean, literally, there's so much stuff to deal with here, right?
Yeah. Where you're going to find them, where the unexploded ordinances are. You've got areas that you got to worry about that. But blue rock's a big one. You can go from just around a corner and you got blue rock. Blue rock is one of the hardest things to jackhammer through and to try to do anything with the land on. And
it raises your construction price exponentially.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just all these different things. And, it's funny because I'm coming from California. So it's a piece of land.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
I know how to sell land. I've been selling homes for 20 years, I don't do it.
But, we got a whole different experience here.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
All right. So, of those 139 sales, everything over 1.6 million sold for cash, and that included a sale for 22 million, 12 million, and 24 million, and there was 18 total sales for cash that were over 1.6 million. Our absorption rate, this is the big thing.
Yeah.
You guys remember, anything under 15% is a buyer's market. Anything over 20% is a seller's market. We were running, you'll see us talking about these numbers last year and the year before, we were running close to 20%. Close enough to call it was a little bit in favor of seller's market, but it wasn't crazy. Absorption rate for North Kona last month was 92%.
Watch this.
92%.
92%. I'd say that's a seller's market.
The seller's market. So, and we'll jump into that when we jump into our predictions.
Yeah.
One last thing we're going to talk about, and this wouldn't have been on our normal market report, but I just caught it on this morning's news. We were watching. They always talk about Honolulu. Honolulu. That's where our news station's from. We don't have a really a good local news source, so we all watch.
Except for 365 Hawaii.
Yeah. But I was just looking at the numbers, and I had to pull this off because I sent it over the news station this morning. Honolulu on the news, they were talking. They had 270 sales this year over $2 million, and I was kind of like, I mean, that's a lot, but that doesn't seem like a lot to me. So, so I said, I wonder how many the Big Island has had. So this is where I am combining the whole island. So I want to disclose that.
Lance loves the numbers.
Love my numbers. So with Honolulu having 270 sales over 2 million. The Big Island of Hawaii had 385 sales over $2 million.
Where are these houses?
We almost doubled. They're not almost doubled. I'm exaggerating.
Yeah, but it's a
good
lot.
30% more $2 million plus homes sold here. Interestingly enough, 208 of those were over $4 million.
Wow.
Okay. The highest cash sale for the Big Island since the beginning of the year was $34 million, and that was here in North Kona. And 203 of the 385 sales were cash that were over $2 million. So
there's money on this island.
There's money on this island.
So again, if we're not, anybody who's watching YouTube, it's not the fact that you can't be a multimillionaire who's watching this, but I have seen some amazing estates, like down in Hokulea.
Yeah.
And up at Hawaii.
Kukio
and stuff like that. So really, if you're watching this and you are looking for an amazing estate, we do multi-million-dollar properties. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
So
we'll take care of you as good as everybody else.
I got a car for you. You can have it for free. Yeah. We'll take you wherever you need. We'll make sure you're drinking some Mola tea.
Yes. Some Tulsi berry.
That's right. In fact, we'll introduce you to the owners of Mola. Who are always taking shareholders in their the company. So
I remember when they came out and offered that several years ago here, and I don't know why I didn't take it. I didn't take up or invest in that.
Yeah. They're growing by leaps and bounds.
And they are, and they're phenomenal. They're great people and a great product. So.
Yeah. Okay. So
Right.
so that's where we are now. Where are we going?
Headed. Where are we going?
Yep.
Where are we headed? Anybody that's watching this is probably hearing the news on the mainland, about how inventory is starting to increase, and some areas have seen 10, 15% or more increase in inventory. So that is inventory. This is what do you call it? A supply and demand market. I hear a lot of people come in from the mainland. I watch a lot of the news. The market's being driven by interest rates. You just heard how many cash sales we've had here. Our market is not driven by interest rates at all. People that are financing are putting down at least 30% typically. So it's not a finance-driven market. So it's not the interest rate.
Right.
So the interest rate can change. It's not going to change our market here.
Right. This is supply and demand.
It's a supply and demand here. So as the rest of the nation gets up to 10, 15, 20% more inventory, Hawaii and I think it was Vermont or Connecticut, there's only 2 states in the United States that have lost inventory. So we've gone down from this time last year. I don't know if it was month over month or month over year, I forget. But we've gone down 3.5%. So we're one of the 2 that are in the nation that are shrinking in inventory, and we have no projects on the scope.
Yeah.
And it's not like the mainland where let's go down the street and start plowing some land and doing it. It takes 7 years from submitting your plans to a shovel hitting the dirt here.
Right.
So we're not going to have any supply. So that's not going to be the change here. So how much crazier can it get? 2 quick stories within the last 7 days. Wrote an offer on a home that would have listed last year in the mid 6s. It listed for $799. Last week they had 10 offers in the first few days. Our offer, I can say this because we didn't get it, so I can tell you what we didn't get it for. We went $50,000 over on a home that was $150,000 overpriced, or
To begin with.
Yeah, to begin with, and that's just what the market is. And I had that discussion with these buyers that's where it is, and their thinking was, well, I'm getting that kind of crazy money from where I'm from, so I don't mind paying that kind of crazy money. So that's going to slow us when they stop getting crazy money there. I guess that will have an effect on the market. Right?
Yeah.
So when their monopoly money stops being
Dissipates,
printed,
yes.
yeah, then it will change us in effect because they won't be paying as much. So we'll see how that affects us. But at this point, it's not. And anyways, we went in at $850 on a $799 home with $100,000 appraisal gap. So $100,000 appraisal gap means we will offset the appraisal by up to $100,000 to keep the loan together. And so we gave proof that we had 30% down and that we had $100,000 to the side to pay for that appraisal gap, and we did not get the home.
How much did it end up going for? Do you know?
Won't know till it closes.
Wow.
Won't know till it closes. So.
And was that the one in Seaview Circle?
No, that was the one in Keohau View Estates.
Okay. So and also you had an issue with Seaview Circle.
I just had one in Seaview Circle too.
And you guys, I mean, I'm not trying to. Yeah, again, he can't say this, but I'll say it. No. There's pockets. I know there's pockets of Hawaii that you would be surprised that a house could go for over $500,000 or $600,000, and in this one space, it was going for like $750,000, and then there were so many offers on it. It probably ended up at like $850.
Yeah, eight something.
Yeah.
Once again, we wrote an offer in the mid 8s with $100,000 appraisal gap, and we did not get that one either.
Yeah, I mean it's just crazy. So
my understanding is I don't know that one closed for more than us. It was a cash offer that beat us out. I do know that. So and here's another part that I realized that beat us out on that one is the buyer for the property was here on island and had walked through it twice.
Oh. Yeah.
So it's a little bit scary, when you're in a neighborhood that is built in the 70s and has a lot of lack of curb appeal. A lot of people don't take care of their homes as well in that neighborhood. They're multi-generational. It's been in the family since the 70s, and you may have grandpa still there and dad there and the kids there. And they all have their own boat in the front yard, and they all got their cars,
Yeah.
So you'll see that, So it's so you've got that, and that happens, and that it's not an unsafe neighborhood. It's not. It's you see me crack a smile here because I just got to tell you a story. So my client, 18 years, I've never heard this. I said, make sure I want you to go to Google Earth and I want you to use that little man. I want you to walk through all the streets here, right? And I said, I want you to look, because you can spin and you can look in the driveways and look in the houses. And, remember, it could be a couple years old. It's not going to be exactly the same. So client called me back and said, yeah, I love it. I want the house. I want to put an offer in on it. I'm like, okay, good. And, as long as you know where you're buying it, you're good. And he says, okay. And I said, what kind of changed what made you like it so much? He goes, I saw a boat every third or fourth house, just like you told me. And he goes, every single one of them had a outboard motor and a kicker on the back of it. And he said, none of them was missing or stolen. The neighborhood I live in, they would have been stolen overnight. You couldn't have parked your boat on the street where I live at, and that would have been there. He goes, that's a safe neighborhood. You don't have to worry about your stuff getting stolen. He goes, I saw fishing gear in some of the boats and stuff like that.
True.
And I said, you know what?
It's a neighborhood of people who respect each other.
They respect your stuff and your space and your stuff. So it's, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell that story, and that just happened to me.
That is so funny you say that, because I told this guy, he's from Flint, Michigan, right? And I said, you're not going to find a really great house. This is back when it was a couple months ago, because he was looking for $500,000 houses. And that's a thin thing now anymore. But I said, what you're going to get for $500,000 isn't very much. And he's like, oh, do you understand I come from Flint, Michigan? He's like, oh, you guys can drink the water that you guys have in your houses. And I'm like, oh, I will shut up.
Yeah, you just don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone's got a thing. So, yeah. So get this. What do you think about, because I got like 2 or 3 people saying this now. And again, and if this is like this is over the top, you can tell me this is over the top. People are wondering that maybe people will find within 2 to 3 years that maybe people made a mistake.
Yes.
And they will say adios, and they'll have to sell their houses.
Without a
which will
doubt.
Then open up inventory for people.
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%, I agree with that.
Okay, so there's a hope in that one, right?
There's hope in that one. That's a general, and I only said I've been here 37 years, you guys. Your typical person that moves here gets island fever, rock fever. They'll get it within 2.5 years. It's a typical, and I can attest to that because I got it myself. I moved here in '84. I left in '88 and '87. I'm sorry, I left in '87. Got 3 years here. Got island fever. Packed up and went back to the mainland and made it for about 1.5 years back there, and realized that my heart belonged here. And since that time, this 37 years ago, it's happened to so many people that I've met. I won't even go to a going away party because it's been to so many. So it will happen, and it's a normal thing. I'll use my analogy kind of. I miss hot dogs, apple pies, and Chevrolet. Here it's Toyota Tacomas and it's Spam musubi and shoyu chicken. And there's nothing wrong with all that, but that's for 4th of July, and you don't have big fireworks celebrations on 4th of July. You have more on New Year's,
That's right.
because the Chinese New Year and things like that. So it's a different culture. It's a different thing. 4th of July, you're not going to have the big hot dog, apple pie, and Chevrolet parties. It's going to be Spam musubi, shoyu chicken,
and you know what? That's why you move here, because you get something different.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But I don't know if you guys. I mean, again, I don't say this very often on YouTube, but Eric and I moved on and off this island 3 times.
Yeah.
So we know what it feels like to say, you know what, it's not working right now, because the first time was financial, the second time was because it was hot, and I wanted to give my kids a good education. We ended up in the mountains, froze our asses off, so we made a horrible mistake, and moved right back, and we're not leaving again. Yeah. So sometimes that's what happens here, right? But the good news is that if people came and they had the adventure of a lifetime, living on the island for a few years, and then they say, you know what, it's not working out, and decide to sell their house, it does give opportunities to a variety of people who feel they're priced out of the market right now, to kind of maybe hang on to hope, see how things go. Yeah. Right? But there's also people who I've talked to, maybe you have too, that are like this. After the recession or the pandemic, I realized my life needed to change. I want to move on this island, and I will do whatever it takes. Yeah.
And that's what we're getting a lot of right now. We don't have riots here. We don't have defund the police here. It's not turning into political talk at all.
Yeah.
It's just
we don't have graffiti.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of things that we don't have, and people want that. So it's different. But I think we're going to see a bigger shift of people moving away than normal. Again, after being here 37 years, and what I've seen, a normal ebb and flow of people coming and going. It always made room for new people to come as people that didn't make it left. But we've got a lot of people that never been here.
Yeah.
Or never, they didn't have the chance. Our typical buyer used to be, they'd been here
20
4
times.
times, 5 times,
Yeah.
They'd been here multiple times, and they'd been to all the islands, and they bought here. Where a Maui buyer, Kauai buyer has been to 2 islands. That's the typical Moana buyer there, and they choose that island. Somebody that buys on the Big Island has been to all the islands multiple times, and then they choose here. So, and that's not the buyer we've had in this market. So,
in fact, because I run my Kona newbies group, there's people coming and saying that they want to learn more about Kona because they're determined to buy a house here, even though they've never been to the island.
yeah.
And I'm like, and so people in the chat groups with we have the 365 Hilo newbies group and the Kona newbies group, and there are some people in those groups that when they find somebody saying, I'm coming, basically, I've never been here before, they really say, this is the reality. You should probably come and get a chance to rent for a year before you really decide what you're going to do.
Yeah.
But what's killing people on that rent idea is the fact that there's no rental housing on the market right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So coming here and deciding to give it a shot, you're not, a lot of people think that that's going to happen. Well, you're not the only one. It's like everyone decided you're going to go to a restaurant.
The entire
in Hawaii
United
right now.
States decided that. So, this is the first time in 37 years in Hawaii you can play the license plate game when you're driving down the road. Where's that plate from? Where's that from? Wyoming, Illinois, Tennessee, Florida,
Washington, Oregon,
New Jersey. That's these places that I've never seen in Hawaii ever.
Yeah, Tennessee. It's like somebody. It's
Where
like,
is Tennessee?
Yeah, but you know what? Tennessee, Erica was like telling me the other day, is one of the more affordable places to live right now. But there's a reason why it's affordable. Same way it's affordable to live in Kansas. We don't have tornadoes, thank God. But there seems to be this up and moving. Let's just go and have some adventure experience, and let's go to move to an island. And it seemed like the Big Island always seemed to be the less expensive of all the islands.
Yeah.
So we're picking that one. We put a stick in the wall, and we're going to go to the Big Island.
And now they're blown away that our properties are actually, we're selling more multi-million-dollar homes in the other islands, and so it's a very, very interesting eye-opening to people.
Yeah. We're definitely having a shift right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is people didn't know 20 years ago you can find articles written that talk about how there was, and this isn't what I'm about or anything. I'm in jeans and t-shirts selling property. I'm not an influential. I don't care about how much money you got. But it was interesting to see that there was more people with money here than in Maui or Oahu, and nobody the other islands don't realize that.
You know what? Because I've written about this in my book. Really wealthy people here don't need to stick out.
They don't.
And they don't have to worry about that. They
don't want to stick out.
They
you
don't
don't know
want to
who
stick
you're
out.
standing next to in
Yeah,
Costco.
you could be standing next to a multimillionaire. You have no idea.
Billionaire, not millionaire. Billionaires.
Yeah. So that's another thing, too, that's nice about our island is that everybody gets to be a schmo.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes you just want to kind of like hang in the schmo, man. Yeah. And if you're going to Maui or going to Oahu, you're a different person than coming to the Big Island.
Yeah.
Right? You get to show your wealth and you get to drive around your little, whatever. But here, it's more of the down home, laid back, awesome feeling that people obviously are spending millions of dollars to come here to enjoy. Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah. So with that, we are going to wrap it up. I want you guys to stay tuned because we're going to do this again next month in August. I don't know if things are going to change dramatically by then, but we'll give you an update on what's happened with the eviction moratorium.
Yes, let's put a plug in for the next show because we were going to do a prediction on what it was going to be. I think it's going to be like this. It's going to keep going a little bit for the year. I think the big thing we're going to watch is the eviction moratorium that ends next month. Real quick, we'll get into it in depth later. But if you're over 4 months, it's the first people to only be talked to people 4 months late, the first 30 days, and then 3 months late, the 60 to up to 90 days, and then it goes out. So there's not going to be.
That's right. You said that this is going to affect it. This is probably going to keep going through 2022.
We'll be well into 2022 dealing with the evictions and going on with that. But what nobody's prepared for. And I reached out to the state and I reached out to a local representative. I said, has anybody prepared for the perfectly good renter that doesn't have to go through the system, that can be given his notice on August 6th because the mom and pop landlord want to get out, or the investor that's been here for 5 or 6 years wants to get out, and he's going to evict them without having to go through the court system or anything. He can just say, you guys been paying, you're on time, you're awesome, you've been great tenants. Guess what? It's time for me to sell. You're out. Those people will have 45 days from August 7th to get out,
Yeah.
and there's no place for them to go.
There's no place for them to
So that's a very sad thing. I hope they don't see that, but
Yeah.
that is going to. Nobody prepared for that. We'll see what happens. We'll talk to you next month.
Yep.
See what's going on.
Okay.
All right.
Tune in August. Aloha.
See you guys. Aloha.